We is recording.
Oh, it's already started?
We started.
All right. Welcome, friends, to episode 2 of Relicbuds, a Relic Blade podcast. Oh, wait, a Metal King Studio podcast featuring your host, Sean Sutter, creator of Relic Blade, Sludge, and Cretaceous Commandos.
What?
And your guy, Malevolent MC.
Oh,
Introduce
dang.
yourself, Malev, with your beautiful voice.
Hey, y'all. It is your boy, Malev, MC / Malev the Shinobi / just Malev. Guy who paint minis sometimes. Also play lots of games. I do want to point out, though, that it's actually episode 1. I know.
You're totally right, because
Yeah.
episode 0 was us figuring out what the heck we were gonna do.
Yeah, episode 0 was a happy accident, and big shout out and lots of love to everybody who took the time to listen to that. It was really, really inspiring and getting me really motivated to. I was looking forward to recording this, next session. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see our cool little layout here, which is, if you're a fan of Relic Blade, which should be pretty obvious, then you will admittedly go, well, that's neat when you see it, because it's neat. Certified neat.
Yeah, I did some of the work for it, but we also got help.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to my man Darrow. Helped us with that, and it's looking pretty cool. And then Sean came up with these sweet character cards that we are framed in, and they're pretty accurate Relic Blade descriptions. I think it's interesting that I have 5 AD and Poet Brain, where you have 4 AD and Artist Brain. So it's like your Artist Brain will just take away half your actions. For me, though, what's funny is that I lose 2 of my actions to Poet Brain, and then I have the other 2 dice to do on Wicked Paintbrush, and then I just have a dice that does nothing, and that is perfect.
Just one,
I can't use it. I can't finish it. I can't do anything with it. It's so accurate.
Around, I guess.
Yeah.
You can climb on stuff. Yeah, I got my 2 actions sunk this week. I gotta say, this past week, because we like to share what we've been working on, and I was supposed to be like going crazy, going to town on finishing up the latest draft of Relic Blade Solo, Catacombs of Karal. But I've got to just harness that like hyper focus when I have it. And this week, Cretaceous Commandos occupied all of my imagination.
Cretaceous Commandos, and like we were talking about, it's just one of those things, and it happens to me a lot as well, even though, like we were saying last episode, when it comes to music and stuff, that's more like my pure art, and I guess if we're going to use terms, that's the quote unquote like hobby, and so a lot of the times, if I'm spending time doing music stuff and I know I should be painting or doing whatever, that voice will come on in my head, and I'll be like, this is cool, but you kind of should be, doing the things that you said you were going to be doing, But when it comes down to it, because sometimes I have such a difficulty writing so frequently, like it's always this process that's it's becoming more difficult as time goes on, and I become a little bit more separated from the medium on an everyday basis. But when it hits me, I gotta just lean into it, because it's rare, It's like catching a pass from the universe. You just have to catch it. You can't.
Yeah, exactly. And like really, the games or the figures or the ideas and drawings that like I'm compelled to make end up like I need to take advantage of that when it happens, because I could just as easily spend all my time shipping orders, organizing inventory, running a website, running social media campaigns, ad campaigns, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that would be productive and make me money. But like, if I'm not, I'm an artist. And so if I'm not making art, then what the heck?
Yeah.
And so
that
when I
motivation
am
aspect.
overwhelmed with that artist brain stat, then I need to just like run with it. And so half of my actions are already spent just on whims. And so this week's whims were Dinosaur Commandos. It's obviously.
Dinosaur Commandos.
Yeah, let me tell you, Malev, let me tell you what I did this week. So, because with Blaster Volume 5, which is the next one, I didn't want to just do like another sludge thing right away, because I have plans for that. And then, Relic Blade, well, I've got this big Catacombs of Corral release I'm working on getting ready.
Yep.
And so I wanted to do something smaller and like a standalone arcade game, because I've always really wanted to, well, not always, but lately I've really wanted to take tabletop games and try and make them, very playable, and also capture some of the fun of like a really cool, specific indie game. Like I really like games on Steam from indie producers that are like, cool graphics, and really specific scope. And you just like get the game, you play the game, you enjoy the game. Like
Makes me think
like
of
probably a
Devolver
really
Digital.
good example would be, did you ever play FTL?
I didn't play
Faster Than
FTL,
Light?
but we're
Or
definitely on the same page for like what type of games we're thinking of.
yeah, like it's just what it does really well. And you can pick it up and play it, and it doesn't have to be like your main game that you play.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them are designed kind of with that in mind, which is an interesting thing I want to circle back on. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and so with miniature games, it's easy for a miniature game to be like the game you play. But I wanted to make a game that's like gonna be really fun to just plug in and play, and like boot up a cool game cartridge. And so I'm going hard into like the arcade game aesthetic of like a 80s or 90s Streets of Rage, Turtles Out of Time sort of like high adventure, big explosions and lots of lasers gameplay.
I'm with
And
you.
so I had this idea, kind of a Battle Beasts, Ninja Turtles adventure game. And I also had wanted to make a Commando game. I watched a documentary about
When you
like
say
Commando.
when you say commandos, what do you mean exactly?
Oh, I'll tell you. I watched a documentary about World War II commandos from like the British military, and Winston Churchill called them like, it was something crazy. It's like butcher and bolt operations, where they just show up and do as much damage as possible,
and that's a reference
and
to
then get out,
like knives and bolt action rifles. Essentially, is that butcher and bolt?
Like bolt, like as in
speed.
Like hit it and quit. Like
yeah,
get in there.
I'm out. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
And just so the idea of showing up and just like unloading just Uzis and bazookas and blowing up a starship and then escaping. But
the first scene of Predator, essentially. The opening scenes of Predator, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
They sneak in, just quick scout. This guy's there, that guy's there. All right, you shoot the grenade, you take out the tower. I'm running and I'm gonna chop this fool. And then bam, bam, bam.
Like, I'm always trying to avoid. Well, not avoid. I'm always mindful of how my art communicates and what I want to say. And so I've been diving into a lot of fun ideas with the Cretaceous Commandos, taking the real life violence, zooming out into cartoon fantasy violence, but then also reframing the explosions as metaphors for like stuff. Anyways, it's goofy to talk too deep about it. The idea is to make like a really fun cooperative, um, or a competitive cooperation where you are trying to get the high score, but you're also working together
Get
against the game.
yeah. I was gonna say like do the most damage.
Yeah, so it'll be really fun. But with with this past week, I had like a bunch of ideas, sort of vaguely, partially formed, and then they suddenly like calcified in my brain
Just
this
clicked.
past week. Yeah, and I was able to get it all down on paper. And so I started doing some sketches the other night of um, what I want the like basic bad guy troopers to look like,
Ooh.
and I wanted to share that drawing with you so that we could like look at it together.
Oh, let's do it. I want to see the bad guy troopers. And for those of you that are watching, uh, we'll try and do some stuff to get it on the screen or share stuff in the description like we did last time.
Yeah, I'll try to. What is the? Should I drop it in the Dropbox or just in the chat here? What's easiest for you to be able to see
Uh,
it?
Bring on, put it in the Dropbox.
All right, here we go.
Relicbuds.
All right, it should be uploading. It's just a like sketchbook page.
Roger. Oh, okay, cool. Like a picture from the phone. What's it called?
Untitled artwork.
Ooh, it's untitled. Even though we
Yeah,
know it's
I put
artwork
it in
of.
a I put it in a folder called Episode 1 so that we have our like reference stuff.
Oh, perfect.
I realize I should have told you that I did these drawings before we started recording, but I didn't really have a plan of what I was going to say. I was
Me
just going to
neither.
talk
Isn't
about
that
what I did
crazy?
this week.
Yeah. It's still not showing up though. Oh wait, it
Oh,
is syncing. So, but my PC is just being slow. Then that's what's going down. Cool. I shall
we'll
check
return to
here
that. But
in a
I
second.
think some of the fun stuff that I was doing with this game is like each playthrough or each time you set up to play, you set up the scenario, so there will be variability between each setup and play, but you pretty much teleport to uh, into a world where this evil 10-headed sorcerer has set up shop, and then just start blasting with your commando. And then each enemy you destroy, you immediately gain an experience point and then spend it. So there's an upgrade tree where you choose how you're going to advance your character. And it makes it really fun where you're going through and like exploding guys, and you get immediate awards for or rewards for that through like character advancement that happens right away, and then also power ups for items and equipment that you can get as you play. So there's a lot of like trying to race to power up your character for the boss fight. And
I gotcha.
there's a bunch of
Okay.
cool mechanics that, as it developed sort of naturally from my imagination, I think I ran into some fun,
And
easy to grasp game
what's your
mechanics.
kind of like process when it comes to mechanics are clicking in your head?
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about interactions via the table and mechanics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Well, I mean, a big part of it for me, I try to focus a bit on the like design intention, like the play experience that I want someone to have. So with this game, I really wanted to capture a button mashing arcade game, and then also the like fast paced weirdness of dual stick shooters.
Yeah.
So that you're moving in one direction and you're shooting in another direction, And so you're always on the move and you're always shooting, and you are trying to get like good positioning and avoid all the like enemy bullets that are flying across the battlefield. So like the enemy activation phase is called the bullet hell phase.
I love it.
And, and the character activation phase is the button mashing phase. Just make it really straightforward.
I
Yeah. So then,
gotcha.
and then there are characters have tokens on them that they generate Twitch counters, and those are like sort of a reservoir of extra button mashing.
Is that
So
based on
like
the
being
name?
able
That sounds. It seems kind of like a reaction, or that's like a push yourself mechanic.
yeah, exactly, to mash the buttons even faster. And so as your character advances, you're able to unlock more of those tokens, and then do more and more during your activation. Yeah. So, anyways, it's very. I'm stoked on it because it just all poured out of my head pretty
That's exciting, dude.
pretty much just right now. And then for people that have been watching my Instagram for a while, they'll have seen that like dinosaur sculpt, dinosaur
Yeah, the Triceratops
commando.
looking
Yeah,
dude with gun and club, right? Is it
yeah.
a club?
So pretty much, I think for when he becomes a Cretaceous Commando, he's gonna lose the club, and the gun's gonna be like 5 times as
Way
big.
bigger.
Yeah, because the weapons are like one of the main things that your character upgrades. So they've got their own body upgrades, like they can
Mm-hmm.
recover health and run faster and twitch faster. But most of the upgrades just go into upgrading your weapon stats.
Have you ever heard of a game called uh Out? Wait, no, I'm forgetting. Oh, Crackdown is what it's called. It's called
No.
Crackdown. It is sort of like it's this game in the style of a GTA open world game, but it was trying to do something original at the time. I can't remember the original release date. I want to say maybe like 2005 through 8, maybe would kind of be the original release window of Crackdown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was you were playing like specialty engineered police. They're pretty much it sounds like a horrible game now that I'm saying it out loud, but you are playing superhuman police essentially, and you're
Yeah.
cracking down on crime.
Oh
But
my.
your police officer guy can jump, 30 feet. He can punch cars, lift cars, like all this crazy stuff. Like RoboCop, but kind of a superhuman angle. But the only
Yeah.
reason
Is
I
it
bring it
Terry
up,
Crews? Is that
say that again.
is it Terry Crews or is it
Terry
just
Crews
someone
got
that looks
involved
exactly like him?
in the later series, the later, but those I don't think we talk about those because those ones were bad. But the only reason I bring it up is because the thing you're talking about guns and upgrades, and I'm thinking about these guns being big, is that in Crackdown, one of the things that was cool was the the police vehicle, the transport vehicle, and it was for whatever reason it was like a all terrain everything vehicle. But it wasn't as if like Batman's got his like Batwing and then he's got the Bat submarine, he's got the Bat car and the Bat skateboard. This is all in one. Like you get in and you choose a mode, and the car could be in like sports car mode, and then but you press a button and it transforms into like muscle car mode. But the animation and the style is kind of like Transformers, where new things are growing from it, and it's like somehow getting bigger. Things like, and I was just thinking about the guns doing that, where in the middle of the fight, a new barrel like like some
Yeah,
new attachment
I
flips
don't
out the
know.
side.
I kind of think I'm not gonna do this, but one of my original like brainstorming ideas was to make it so that the miniature had like a kung fu grip, and you just like actually as the weapon
You slot
upgrades,
in
like
different
put a
weapons.
bigger and bigger gun.
Oh my gosh. That
Be a bit dumb, but also like really cool.
from a manufacturing standpoint, it would be super interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go like design for 3D print this game so that like I can release new commandos or
Yeah, and
bad
Peeps
guys
is
or
always clamoring.
new bosses, and it would just be a matter of a download with with the 3D printable figure, and then also a little new stage or new types of upgrades, weapon upgrades or whatever. So, but
That
it'd be
sounds
fun,
really neat.
like because then you could make it so that the hands have like a hole, and then in the middle of the grip, and then you could just have all of the weapons have like the same
This little
size.
peg style, like on some old school GI Joe stuff.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
Um, I like that a lot. You know,
Well, we'll see. I'll
yeah,
mess with some
yeah.
manufacturing or like some design stuff
That's
to
just,
figure out what
that's an
exactly.
exciting idea. And we've always talked about the challenge. One of the things that's probably been kind of the conversation that we have a lot more than a lot of things is this whole, okay, how do we how do we approach 3D printing,
Hmm.
with what specifically like what you're doing, what you manufacture, what you trying to sell, the game you're trying to put forth, and like the experience you're trying to, I guess for lack of a better term, like cater to.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a ton people ask about like trying to get Relic Blade
Hmm.
figures as 3D printable figures, and it's tough because my whole livelihood is Relic Blade, not just each figure that I sell, but also like theoretically the IP in the future.
Yeah.
And that sounds a little bit like um what's the word? Like prideful to try and imagine that it'd be worth something. But I've been making it for a long time, you know. And if someday they wanted to make a Relic Blade cartoon,
Yep.
I deserve to
I
benefit from that.
completely agree. And I think like I get what you're saying when you say, like prideful or what,
Yeah.
but I think the reality is, um, going back to a sort of another music analogy, which I guess you guys are gonna hear a lot. But one of the things that I encounter a lot is people thinking, and thank goodness they do so, but a lot of people will say things to me like, how haven't you blown up yet, or why isn't your music as popular as X or Y? And it really, there's this there's this sort of real tangible thing of, if more people had access to this, how popular would it be, you know like, and that's kind of what it makes me think about when I think about music and stuff, and all those comments that I've received over the years and support. It makes me think, oh, so really kind of what the difference right now is exposure. It's not a comment on quality, like,
Mhm.
even if this song doesn't perform as good as this song comparatively to my own stuff, all of this, you can't really take it in any sort of meaningful assessment of like actual like data or anything, because it's not really measurable in that way. And if the right people heard it, or I guess to just go into a hypothetical like scientific experiment direction with it, if I was able to play my song, one of the latest songs that I made on, Patreon or whatever, to 100,000 people. Just like press button, 100,000 people right now hear the song. Like that would have massive like implications, where that's kind of it. That's kind of the only thing that really separates a great deal of artists from I guess what we could call is like massive success, like this sort of I love this thing so much that everybody should be into this. Why isn't everybody into this kind of thing? And with Relic Blade, I've always thought if there was a game like XCOM, like if you just take XCOM or XCOM 2, the sort of Final Fantasy Tactics game, we have art assets that look just like the Relic Blade stuff. We have the main mechanics from the game, plus other, different quality of life improvements, but pretty much make a tactical game, battle game, and it's in the Relic Blade IP. That game would hit. That game would hit. I think that people would absolutely love that game, playing the Relic Blade mechanics, getting into the Relic Blade world, and then I guess in the same vein as many people have gotten into like 40K and Warhammer, myself included, through games like Dawn of War. I think
Wait,
it would.
did you get into Warhammer through video games?
I got into Warhammer through video games, not exposure, but that's what brought me over the other side.
Yeah.
Is the because I knew about them, but it wasn't until I played Dawn of War and like heard the universe, saw it, kind of got my teeth around it and understood what was going on. Then I was like, yo, these space marines is kind of cool. Really, it was the Dawn of War intro. Like, I know my true Dawn of
That
War
artwork
had.
for the video with the dreadnought shooting guys and
Yes, and then the
running
dude
around.
dying on like that intro. I was like, what's going on in this IP over here?
Yeah, that
So
video, I feel like the guys that made that like have played Warhammer. You know,
yeah, yeah, no doubt.
compared to other Warhammer video stuff I've seen that like really captured stuff.
Yes, it
Um,
captured the game because it wasn't focused on like, whereas a modern take is very, for lack of a better term, very MCU-y, where they're focused on, again, the IP, they're focused on their characters, they're focused on the stories, and it kind of has a little bit of a G.I. Joe kind of feel where your good guy, your named characters can't die. They're there to do stuff, and they're there for plot to happen, and then you just have like tons of goons. Whereas back in the day, sure there was named characters and stuff, but the feel of the game felt a lot more centric around your faceless soldier, a lot more
hmm,
emphasized on the theme and feeling of the universe, as opposed to being like, isn't Robo Guilliman like super sweet? Check how big he
yeah,
is. You're like, oh man, that guy's
yeah.
big. He got a
But
fire sword. That's
like
crazy. He got to be the coolest guy.
that. All right. So we went aside, but the reason then I don't release Relic Blade figures for 3D printing is because it's really hard to control
The IP.
or manage an IP, and it would devalue its resale value
Hmm.
if.
Good on you for bringing us back to that, because I was gone.
Uh,
Your boy was in a different region. So yeah, you were mentioning that it's just difficult to just keep a handle on it when the 3D prints, because there's a couple of things to it. For when the way that I see it is not only, and I guess what makes it difficult is that people are not even considering this side, so to speak, but it just kind of becomes about commodity. Again, we'll make another music analogy. When Napster, torrenting and file sharing sites became prevalent, that was a big thing for the music industry to try to adapt to, because like when people can just download your entire library of music without ever interacting with you or touching any of your merchandise or any of your products, like that seems a little, that's kind of not what you want. But it's almost, in a sense, it reminds me of a similar situation where
yeah.
the industry's shifted now for music, where it's like, download music. What are you talking? Yeah, you buy a record. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I just go on Spotify. It's
Yeah.
all already there. It's shifted from it being, I want to download this for free, to I don't even want to download this, but I would love access, for free, to this thing. Where, I mean, that's obviously not this case for
Mm.
STLs, because you got to download them, but But when people
Yeah,
can
I
just
mean,
download so
I
many,
think I think there's because I think 3D printing is going to be a hobby of its own for a long time. And I would like to have Relic Blade stuff available as 3D printable stuff, but I think it'd need to be a version that is designed to be 3D
yeah,
printed.
yeah, yeah. You were
Like
kind of mentioning that to me.
if I had, a faction set or certain characters that are designed for people to be able to access that way, it would be really cool. Um, because then, yeah, you can get the digital guy, the digital questing knight printed, and it'll be a really cool sculpt, but it's different than the like
Then
original.
yeah,
And
then
then the other thing is it makes it so that international people
the real
can
strength.
buy and download and print Relic Blade, but then people who don't have 3D printers would still be able to get it. And so, anyways, I'm on the verge of unfolding that plan of making it accessible through 3D printing without undermining myself. And so, with a game like Cretaceous Commandos, I want to be making a game that is designed intentionally as a game for with 3D printable product that I'm producing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's something I want to explore, and I think Cretaceous Commandos could be a good place for it. And then also, then I can exploit some weird stuff like we were talking about, alternate guns, right?
Yeah,
Stuff
yeah.
that it would be too complicated or silly to produce traditionally, but could be done through 3D printing more accessibly, like swappable weapons, um, or limited edition, or rather special edition skins for characters. Like think of,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
interesting to think about skins for. Yeah, yeah. Because
yeah,
I mean, it's been happening. I think Kingdom Death is probably the one that comes to mind when I think about character skins. You have so many
mhm.
alternates of kind of like these
Well,
existing
like
models.
I was hanging out with my friend Lucas, and he was telling because he played or does play and collect a ton of what's the weird miniature game
Malifaux.
Malifaux. And Malifaux has like alternate skin warbands that are like full on cyberpunk.
Oh, really? Like different
Yeah, like
themes.
totally different genre
Oh, that's
reskins.
interesting.
And so I don't know, I think with 3D printing it'd be fun to be able to drop in a commando or whatever.
I
Oh,
I'm
the
love
boy
that
is here
idea.
now. He came right in and now he's breathing heavy.
Oh, it's Grove
Say
Dino.
hello, Grover,
Relic Blade's best
employee of the
employee.
month.
Yeah, they play of every month. You know,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Hi, Grover. The Grove
Yeah,
Dinos, the dog type Pokemon.
yeah. All right. So, um,
So,
despite interruptions, what I had wanted to say was yes,
oh, it's gonna be
Cretaceous Commandos
seamless.
is like spinning around in my imagination machine.
Hmm.
I pumped out a bunch of the rules and play tested and worked through stuff. And then I started doing some drawings. I've got that sculpt that I'm going to just like reframe in the like Cretaceous Commandos universe. And then also I have these like dreams about making it like a easy to access 3D printable game, but also, heck, I could do 2D standees, I could do whatever, because the idea is that it's going to be a very fun, cooperative, like button mashing experience that you'll be able to like set up and play. Um, and so I'm trying to work on accessibility also, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. And I mean, that was something that I think, like, if I'm gonna talk about the work that we've done on Relic Blade, and I think about like stuff that I'm super proud of, is like that kind of stuff that we've really focused on in the past is like accessibility. You know, like Storms of Corral is the perfect example where I feel like the way that that set works is just really exciting. crack it open, choose a side, get some characters, and then commence to battling.
Yeah, and I really like how the campaign mechanics are card driven rather than like on a campaign sheet.
Yeah,
Because that makes it so there's just like way less bookkeeping. You don't have to like write down anything. You
yeah, for
just
sure. And as a game with we'll say 300 plus um card illustrations, like from the design perspective, using those similar things, like there's just a lot of interesting things that are going on with the Relic Blade card design space that I think make accessibility super cool.
hmm hmm yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah, so I had a pretty fun. It was productive. It was a very productive week without being productive in the ways I intended.
Yeah, but still, that's
Like I
that's
didn't
rad.
achieve any of my goals, but I did make.
But I made some goals that you didn't know that you wanted to achieve, sort of.
Well, they're on my list of things I'm supposed to do.
Hmm.
It just wasn't the stuff I intended to do last week.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, it's like a catch from the universe.
Yeah.
It's it's all about it ain't kind of we're just little windows here
hmm
to let the stuff flow through. Even though sometimes we have an idea of what we want to see on the other side of that window, it's going to be like,
Yeah.
no, how about spacefaring, transdimensional, battled dinosaurs,
Yeah.
commandos? Ain't nothing
Yeah.
they can do, Cretaceous Commandos. Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with the theme song for that as well. But that your the topic on that, because there's so much to unpack there that I think is really amazing. This design space idea about making games that are designed for print is really cool, especially being familiar with your capabilities and the stuff that you do already, physically manufacturing stuff like that. Like come on, like the table that we saw yesterday, that was just like that gorgeous example of Relic Blade being played, with the foundation with the 3D printable like ruins on the top there. Like,
Yeah.
there's just, this the ideas for what could happen with a 3D printed Relic Blade set, especially with the capability of printers today, and also just for the game around the spreading a game around the world. Because what has happened over this past week that I think is super interesting, that's been having me think a lot about stuff, is that Gates of Antares is a game that I've talked to you about before, and I've told you in the past that I think Gates of Antares is like just this. It's just this sleeper hit of a game. The way that the way that it's written from the lore perspective, and the way that stuff like goes into mechanical interaction and stuff. It's a real labor of love in an interesting way, and high science fiction writing that is that your brain can grab onto it. Whereas, again, big fan of 40K, but the grimdark, that's why I think there's so much mystery about what's grimdark, because it's a little bit nebulous, it's a little bit interpretive. Whereas this
Doesn't
game's
really line up with like I don't know. I feel like I want to know how people live
exactly, that's
or
kind
like
of
how
the
a
how does it
society
work, how does it
work.
even work, how does
Yeah.
how does the details click together. And that's
Yeah.
something that Gates of Antares, there is some stuff that you got to be like, what exactly is going on, but once you get it, you're just like, that's extremely clever. Like, I
Mhm.
love that. A simple example is that all of the advanced alien races, um, and we're using the term alien air quotes, are just human morphs. And it's just like, what happens to the human species when it spreads across the universe and is existing in different biomes and stuff. You get different, they look different. They're not the same, they don't look exactly the same, but they're still technically humans. They're just sort of evolved differently, and that kind of idea about the different races not shooting at each other just because they're different, and they're actually kind of like distant cousins and stuff. Like all these little interesting details about the way that the game work. I really enjoyed. But this maybe 2 weeks ago now, Warlord announced that they're no longer going to support Gates of Antares, and this was right on the cusp of the lead up to the supposed drop of the Gates of Antares 2 rules. Um, and what has happened is Tim Bancroft and Rick Priestley, creator of Gates, I suspect he probably knew that they weren't going to be able to print the book some time ago, but kept it close to the chest. And now that the news is out, what they've done is super interesting. Where um, essentially they say Gates 2 is out; it's for free. It's a complete. It's not a complete rehaul of the thing. It's more kind of like what we did with edition 2 of the Seeker's Handbook. Just smooth some corners essentially, but the whole game is pretty much the same. There is big revamps here and there, but as I was reading the intro, Tim Bancroft says Gates 2 is a completely community driven game. This game is not this game is not commercially available. This is quite literally now a fan game. So
Mm.
download it, play it, grab your friends, play the thing, and it's like it's revitalized the Gates of Antares community, where
Interesting.
giving this, and I mean, who knows how long it will last? Because Gates has been around for a while and it's never caught on, despite its amazing system. But just this idea of we need to pivot, we're going to give the game to you, we're going to give all the resources for the game to you. All the models are still exist and they're still being manufactured and stuff, just not by Warlord in the future. But if
Mhm.
you're listening to this, you should be able to get quite literally every Gates army for a reasonable price. Um, but that permission, that just like baton handover, where it's like, here's the game we made. We can't labor to make it, to support it in the traditional sense. But that being said, the Gates community is super strong, so we're gonna do what we can when we can. But otherwise, it's yours. It's in your hands now,
Mhm.
and
Does that mean that, like, because we were talking about 3D printing and stuff, does that mean that they expect their world and character designs to be sculpted and printed by
you
game
got it.
Patreons and stuff?
So no, I don't think. I'm sure that there is, because
I just
Warlord
mean, like,
still.
open to it, because, like,
Yeah, no,
Patreons
they
are
they
always just
definitely are. Rick and Tim themselves said, in another podcast interview, shout out to Tabletop Warlords, that the idea is, yeah, maybe in the future we will find a sculptor. They'll hire a sculptor to exercise their ideas about, bringing to life things that they've been trying to bring to life for Gates 1, but they just like couldn't manufacture them.
Mhm. Right, yeah.
So that is absolutely, I think, the term for physical expansions. Well, physical is a weird word to use, but for like game expansions and for models, new units, new campaigns, yep, all of that is being completely put on the players to create, and the permission is being given with certain limitations. Like I know Warlord still owns the term Gates of Antares, so there's some stuff, but otherwise, even in the rulebook of Gates 2, I found it super interesting that Tim, this must have been a sort of maybe not last minute, but something that they considered, as they knew that they couldn't, that it wasn't going to be like sellable by Warlord, where they said Gates 2 is high sci-fi, uses these mechanics, blah blah blah. It's designed for the Gates of Antares universe, which you can read about here and there, yada yada. Uh, but it's suitable for any game. So I mean, if you want to play a game with these rules, go for it. So
Mhm.
and they can say that now because it's not. And so it's just interesting because it just opens up these ideas. So like those little tribal guys that we were talking about earlier. You know,
Yeah.
now it's very easy and accessible for this idea of thinking about like feral aliens that you might encounter in a scenario, and you're like, oh well, I want them to have these stats and these stats, and you can write all that up, upload it to the Gates of Antares Nexus, and have that file for like anybody to access so that they can use, so it's becoming this community driven game where that kind of like that reach is being extended by the players, and it's just really interesting to see the reaction, and it's got me excited. I'm excited kind of about it again. But yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, I think it's interesting because we're running into there's a lot of stuff happening with production issues,
yeah,
and um, and I think we're gonna have to explore more options as it goes on. Because yeah, Antares runs into a problem like you. Because I haven't played it, but I remember you talking about how they make reference to a lot of stuff that hasn't
yeah. They,
come to
they,
fruition.
they can't actually manufacture, namely the
I,
Voral.
I mean, part of it is that they're making like big metal armies or making big, plastic kits. And that stuff is like really expensive to make and getting more expensive. Like today I was shipping stuff around, I spent my Monday morning shipping Relic Blade orders, and like I charge kind of a flat rate for shipping, where I just if it's going to a certain area, then I'll like ask for a certain amount to help cover some of the cost. But a lot of the like the shipping to the UK was all like $40 per package,
Sure.
and shipping to New Zealand was like all like $60 per
Yeah,
package.
and
And
see,
like, people place their orders, and I do whatever I can. I kind of think of it as, since they're buying it direct from me, I think of it as a like wholesale discount by me covering most of the shipping cost. But I don't know, it's sort of hidden. I don't think people really realize that I'm dropping $70
oh, I
stuff.
doubt they do.
but,
I doubt they do.
but yeah, like and then of course any of shipping materials of course comes out of that
And
too.
you reminded
No one
me.
wants to pay a lot. No one wants to
Yeah,
pay a lot
no,
for shipping, but I can't be like, all right, guys,
it's a
that
very normal thing, You see, you pay $15 for something, and that shipping comes up and it's $13. You're like, why? Even if you understand, your brain is still gonna. How come?
it's
What's
getting
up with that?
worse,
Yeah, yeah,
and
for sure.
I've got friends who are producing plastic kits overseas, and it's taking years for it to come to fruition. Or board games that should have been simple, like card games, taking years to come out.
And
And like,
you reminded
so I
me
get it.
of.
Like trying to get a faster, loose print and play, like community driven thing
Yeah,
is
man.
appealing.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
mean, I love buying a model kit and having it come in a box. So I'm always driving. I'm pulled between those things with Metal King Studio, trying to make sure it looks like a model kit when you get it instead of a garage kit, even though it's shipping from a garage. So I don't know.
Yeah.
A big
Well,
part of
it's
the
like
hobby for me is that like something shiny and new, and kind of a curated content. So
absolutely. Like we watched that happen today on stream, like that's not that experience, that's not gonna happen with a digital product.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah. We
Without.
went. We better say what that was. We can't just make references to things we did earlier without saying. We went. It was Whittle Goblin on
Shout out to
Twitch,
Witty.
right?
Yep.
Witty, and she was Malev told me that she might like Relic Blade stuff, and I sent some Relic Blade stuff out to her, and she did like a live unboxing, and it was really cool to see because she was like, opening card packs and looking at cards and
Yeah.
reacting to it in real time. And I was shipping orders in my garage and had it on in the background, but it's still really cool because there were a bunch of things that I kind of thought were like Easter eggs, maybe someone will notice, that she was picking up on like right away, and like getting a sense for the game with goofy stuff like the botanist swinging around that beat, or the not for babies icon on the back of the
Yep.
box.
That's my favorite. The
Like
classic.
she noticed like is it recommended for ages 12 and up, and the little boy's wearing a T-shirt that has the number 12 on it. And it's like there's so many stupid little details that
Yeah, that
I
are just fun.
doodle, and like I giggle, and then I forget about it because I just am making my art, and I send it out, and I forget that people are
Yeah,
looking at.
get that stuff. And you see like that when we were talking when we opened up last time is we were talking about like this idea of feeling connected, wanting to have your you just kind of as an artist when you create something I feel like at its simplest what you want is that end result connection. And so
Yeah,
you can't always get it. Or sometimes you just literally never can, you
yeah.
know. But
Well, I
that's
never
what
did. I never got that. Like, kind of. I never really saw someone
exactly, right? And that's just
like
what's
reacting
interesting.
in real time with that level of enthusiasm, because I've seen unboxings that are like kind of clinical, like what's in the
Yeah,
box, sort
curated stuff or edited video
of.
perhaps.
But it was fun to like kind of get her impressions as she went through the relic plate stuff, and it was really exciting for me because it made me feel like all this goofy stuff I've been making goes out to people who are also goofy and like that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that
And
I don't know,
and
it
for
was
me,
really
when
fun for
I
me.
when I watch people interact with your stuff, and because it's pretty much it's a simple thing. I'm like looking for them to have a similar experience that I had when I first interacted with Relic Blade stuff, because it's like coming from the Games Workshop's realm of things in the early stages of the hobby, you
Mhm.
get used to seeing these artistic depictions of things, and that's cool. You start to build this idea about imagery and what sort of stuff is um kind of gives you the feel and the vibe of the game that you're playing. And in 40K there was always particular artists that I gravitated to over
Mm.
others,
That's
like
funny
David
you say that.
Gallagher, shout out.
You'd like pick and choose
Yeah, you'd pick and choose which
which
artists that
artists
you
to buy.
kind of really jived with, and you'd be like, "This is the guy who's selling me the thing," and that was fine. And you'd really see the figures and stuff, and you knew it was all connected. You knew when you saw a piece of art that this was this guy or whatever. But nowadays, it's reverse to whereas or I can't state that it's reversed, but it feels reversed to where they do miniature design first and then they tell an artist to draw it as opposed to concepting
Yeah,
a
like, will you draw a picture of this
of
miniature?
this guy. Yeah. And so you have these like one-to-one things, and that makes sense because that's what happens in Relic Blade too. But
Yeah,
the difference
like,
is when
uh,
you're interacting with Relic Blade, there's a crazy consistency that if you've interacted with tons of wargame rule books throughout your life, when you flip through the Relic Blade rulebook and you look at the cards and you look at the miniatures, there's this insane consistency that just like it speaks to you that in an experience level, because like again flipping through all the older different books of the yesteryear and stuff, you gravitate to an artist's style, and you may like this one painted miniature, but there isn't a cohesive relationship between all of those things because it's like a
mm,
more traditional art department or something. But when it all comes from you, there is like there's this innate intelligence inside that maybe people won't be able to put to words, but you just recognize it. You're like, this is cool, man.
mm,
When you let it in and you look and you think, and it starts to sit in your mind. And I remember that was the first thing that like really inspired me back like in 2015 before we even met, when I backed the Relic Blade 2 player, the first Kickstarter, because that was the first thing I ever backed on Kickstarter. And just like seeing it, it was like you were doing all of these things that like uh, 14-year-old me would just be like hyped about, be like, what, so I was like, whoa, I need to get on, this is so cool. This guy he be drawing everything, it's a miniatures games, he's all this kind of stuff. And then I remember getting it finally like months later, maybe like 5 months later or something like that. Took me a further like it took me an actual year from like delivery to uh painting them. and then I started playing the game by myself, just like rolling dice and stuff. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, this game is fun. What the heck? And then I was like, yo, there's something up with this. There's something
Mhm.
going on with this Sean Sutter guy.
Yeah, and it's funny because those steps that you're talking about are essentially what I go through when I'm making it. You know,
Yeah.
like oh, this drawing is cool. Oh, this is fun. Oh, night. Yes. Like oh, he should hit a guy. I don't know. It's yeah, and so seeing Witty today kind of go through the stages of being introduced to the Relic Blade world was really fun and a nice reminder that like people do see what I'm making. I
Yeah.
don't know. It sounds so stupid or so obvious, but
It
like
it
there's a
it
level of
it
like
doesn't to me. I'll tell you
well
that
because
because we
most
get it, but
people most people see things and think thoughts, but because she was unboxing it for an audience, she was saying her thoughts out loud.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that's where I finally was able to make the connection and be like, oh, good. So what I was thinking when I made it is being the thing that she's thinking and when she sees it. Like I feel it's communicating. It's working. So
Yeah, 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 yeah,
that
yeah.
was a fun moment from today
That
that
was
happened.
hype. So, Sean, other than Cretaceous Commandos, have you been playing anything this past week?
Dude, I played uh nothing else.
Just
Great. Yeah.
play
I
testing,
mean,
man.
yeah, that was all I did for work and I didn't really have any free time to do anything else.
I did see you went on hikes, I think. I'm pretty sure you
Yeah, I
sent me
did.
a picture of a hike.
I went on multiple hikes.
Ooh,
That was really
multiple
nice.
hikes.
And
That's
while I
crazy.
was enjoying nature, um I I imagined Cretaceous Commandos and Relic Blade guys.
I love that. Every
I
time
imagined
that we're
but
hanging out and we go on a hike out there in the California hills, it's it really gets my imagination going. I start looking at nature in a different way.
yeah,
And start looking at just the shapes in the hills, like, ooh, that'd be a crazy spot for, if an ambush happened here, like I'd have to duck behind this, gotta dive
yeah,
behind this tree right here. It just these little interactions that are cinematic and imaginative just begin to like kind of form in my head.
yeah. Probably because when you come out and visit, we spend the whole time in worlds of imagination.
Yep. And just trying to
Another fun thing that happened this week is I found a new pet spider.
oh yeah.
And actually, if this is being recorded, video recording, probably people would have noticed that I keep looking up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Over
spider.
there you're watching him
Yeah. Anyways, I got a new jumping spider. I was watering my persimmon tree,
and you're
and
just like, oh, what up, little dude?
yep. I immediately named it Ajax. But I'm not sure if it's male or female. Do males or females have the fluffier mandibles? I don't remember.
Ah, yeah, I can't remember. If memory served me, because um, yeah, I overheard a conversation. I was thinking that, but yeah, I'd have to ask.
Yeah. Well, either way, Ajax has a big mustache, so
That's crazy. That's fun.
yeah.
We got a
Oh,
party.
let's. I jumped too soon before it could upload earlier, but pull up the sketches I did of
Oh yeah, no, we could do that. I'll
Void
do that
Troopers.
in the post, and we can. So I'll bring
I
it
want
up.
you to look at them though.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want to get your
I
feedback.
got them. I got them up. I think they look really cool. I like the Cyclop styled nature to like their outfit. It kind of gives
Mhm.
me like this interesting vibe. Or like, are they human? Are they robots?
Yeah, I should have
What is
numbered
that?
them. But I think all right. If there's the guy that looks like he's kind of a new Star Wars guy, kind of Boba Fetty. I'm not crazy about that,
Hmm.
but the guy over that has the like round helmet with the single eye. I think I'm leaning towards that, and then also all the way over to the top right, the like, and the other like Cyclops guy with the pointier helmet.
Yeah, yeah.
Either the
I
round
like
helmet
that
or the
one.
pointy helmet, or maybe both. But I think that's where I'm going with them. The little like void troopers. I want them to be. I think I'll. I mean, I'll probably make the game mostly cartoony. at first I was thinking the bad guys would be more serious, and then the good guys would be these like goofy rainbow dinosaurs. Um, but I think it's all going to be more comic book style
Yeah,
because
that's exciting. I'm really digging the way that they're looking, and the gestural style of the sketches is always cool, just kind of conveying emotion and sort of feel these shapes and stuff. The way your dude's
yeah,
just got his
just
open blast position. Ga 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 ga.
I was trying to figure out with the helmets, trying to figure out how to use the shapes to express something about who or what they are. And they're supposed to be they're like uh, the void troopers are manifestations or like evil ideas that have been given form as little soldiers. And so I think that the one eye helps make it them look less like they're humans, but they have the like humanoid body of like two arms, two legs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to make it clear that bad guys that the bad guys can look like humans, but the thing that's really makes them a bad guy is that they are these like fascist bad ideas.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like trying to push and pull between like it's not a person that's the bad guy, it's a evil idea. And people can be corrupted by evil ideas, but it's that doesn't change the fact that the evil idea was the problem in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of it is that I want these like really fun cartoony action hero dinosaur commandos to be going and blowing up these space fascist
Well,
bad
dang.
guy
Well,
troopers,
I like
but also
the.
make sure the troopers aren't people. So anyways, I think I'm going for that like either pointy helmet or round helmet, Cyclops helmet, troopers with blasters. They'll be pretty simple, but I think they'll be a lot of fun. I'm hoping to make them fun and easy to paint.
I think they're gonna look. Yeah, I mean, it's looking really sweet. I'm digging the design, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your colors would be, but I'm seeing them like in this all black with like slight little hints of red, or they have red glowing eyes or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like trying to make sure. Um, I don't want them necessarily to be overly Nazis. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But at the same time, that is part of the like Metal Slug aesthetic to have the bad guys be like fake Nazis. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think that could happen with these guys to make them to like use that shorthand.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
um, but also, I mean, we can paint them all kinds of ways. It's a void sorcerer, a 10-headed sorcerer named Voidra or Voidra. Anyways, like King, a little bit like Mum Ra or a Cobra Commander sort of bad guy, but a sorcerer and 10-headed demon, and then his void troopers. So there's like a level of
Yeah, if we keep going in that direction, I think I,
Cobra, and we'll see.
yeah, I like I that kind of vibe, and I think it definitely won't really still
So
communicate without
it
crossing
could
line
go. I mean,
the.
anyone could paint them, but like you could paint them dark blue with red, and then that would give it like a Cobra
Hmm.
with like shiny chrome helmets.
Yeah,
That'd be a funny way to do it.
and I think I don't know if the setting has. I mean, you're making a small game, I'm just thinking out loud here. But if the setting has specific planets, coming up with the regiment of that planet that you got to just go and blast up could be some fun too.
Yeah.
Lots of opportunities.
Yeah, it takes place across infinite dimensions.
Hmm.
So I think there's room for making all kinds of wacky sci-fi troop sets, or someone could just pick up a Stargrave Trooper box and fill out their roster. But
That'd be
or
cool.
heck, someone could play with, their space orcs or their Necrons as the bad guys, or even with Space Marines as the bad guys. It does,
Hey, now we're communicating.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, it was a lot of fun to like run through that game design, writing rules, and
Just
exploring
getting
like the
back
way
in it.
the game mechanics, exploring the way the game mechanics like are a fun puzzle that I'm making, and I get to unlock and build, and then as you or as other people are playing it, they'll get to start wrapping their mind around like, oh, when I upgrade my gun this way, it makes it, these benefits happen. It'll be easier to hit, but that also means this, and that also.
So you said that, and I was immediately thinking, I don't know how your shooting mechanics work, but if there's like a mechanic that's kind of like in your um, side-scrolling shooters where you like grab the little power up and suddenly your turret now shoots a ball that splits into two balls that goes into like a particular cone or something. It'd be interesting if you had gun effects like that,
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
like
you
that.
get there's a grenade launcher upgrade, so that among the bullets that you're shooting are also explosive grenades.
Oh, okay.
There's a mega laser, of course,
Mega
that
laser.
makes it so that because movement and facing are really important in this like dual stick shooter, like where you're running around the board all the time.
Yeah, and
Um,
looking about.
if if guys are along that line of fire, then you can hit more guys by lining up your laser. You can, yeah, there's a missile, there are bombs, there are sandwiches,
Oh
there
man,
are
you gotta have a
one
sandwich.
ups, and um, yeah, all kinds of different upgrades and weapons. Very arcade bullet hell shooter style.
I think that's gonna
I'm
be
very excited to play it.
pretty
Well,
hype. Yeah, and then we'll be surely talking about more Cretaceous Commandos as it kind of develops further
yeah.
in the Sean mind.
Yeah, I think what I need to do is just like get it all sorted quickly while I'm overwhelmed with inspiration,
Hmm.
so that it'll all be set up for when Blaster 5 drops. Which who knows when that'll be exactly, because Blaster 4 was so much went into it, and then there were so many delays because of drive-through RPG or because of different errors, and like it just it dragged on. And so I think everyone needs a little bit of a rest. But apparently, even when I'm resting, I still suddenly
Just want to
will.
create.
Yeah.
Yep, and there's lots to create, lots to manifest from the Sean Sutter mind. And today on this episode of Relic Buds, we have been super blabbing of just about, I mean, I think it's a great example of what will hopefully be a pretty standard episode of Relic Buds, just musing, hanging,
Mhm.
long chatting. I think we should wrap it up for this episode. And I've got some things that I want to talk about the next time. Because as with
What?
up, there's a
Yeah.
lot.
Did you take notes?
I did and took some
Yeah, I
notes.
kind of dove in. I was too excited about what I've been
I
crafting.
know it's so
But
crazy.
I mean, that's part of the fun. Is like normally I would just keep this all secret,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and I would maybe like I sent you a sketch of the like prototype character card, or like
Yeah, yeah.
character sheet for Cretaceous Commando, or like I'd type into the Blaster chat on Skype and be like, I made progress this week, and they'd be like, good work. But yeah, heck, if you're excited enough to log into Relic Buds, then that makes you a Relic Bud, and by default,
For sure.
and that means that you're pretty much just hanging out with me in my studio, so I have no secrets.
Yep, yep. And then I think it's worth mentioning a little caveat too that also will give strength to this format is like if that's the type of stuff that you normally keep secret for whatever reason, one of the things that's worth mentioning is that the stuff that we talk about here is not necessarily going to be what happens, you know.
Yeah, like
You
you
know,
don't. Things
it's
could change, of
yeah,
course.
it's you know, it's just kind of the core idea, the skeletons, you know, we're just going trying to catch those passes from the universe and follow the inspiration and see what kind of things come out on the other end.
Yeah, it's true. That's another thing that like makes it hard is if you announce something, then there's some kind of like promise or expectation. So
Hmm.
even though Cretaceous Commandos isn't announced, strictly speaking, you guys know that it's going to be something, and that I've been excited about it, and I'll be happy to talk more about it as we get closer.
Yeah,
Um, but
but
yeah, this week, I mean next week, I should probably work on Relic Blade solo.
yeah, yeah, we could talk about maybe next week we could maybe make that the something because there's been some feedback from playtesting. We've talked about a couple of new ideas, and I'm actually kind of really excited about attempting to implement some of these things. And they feel
Yeah,
to me,
absolutely.
as the person who kind of put together that main engine, that ooh, this is kind of stuff that I feel like has been missing from this. So I'm excited
Hmm.
about it. But
Yeah, me too.
we gonna sign off. I've been your boy Malevda Shinobi. Here is
Mhm.
Sean Sutter. We
Yep, Sean
really
Sutton, the Metal King of Metal King Studio.
mm-hmm. You can see it. That's right there. And we over here are the Relicbuds. Bam, bam.
Oh
And
yeah.
we thank y'all for catching episode 1. We'll be back soon with episode 2. Much love and peace, y'all.